Do you ever hear a frequency that no one else seems to notice? A soft ringing, a high-pitched tone, a vibration in the silence that feels like it's calling your name. If you do, listen carefully, because this isn't random, it's not anxiety, it's not tinnitus. It's not your imagination. It is the first pulse of your awakening. And if you carry the M mark or the crescent moon, or especially both on your palm, then this frequency is not just a sound. It is your code turning its... Dolores Cannon spent decades telling the world that awakened souls hear this call before anyone else. But there is one thing she never revealed. She never spoke about the physical activation marks, the symbols that some souls are born with, symbols that act like receivers, keys, antennae for the new timeline. So before we go any deeper, I want you to do something for just 10 seconds. Look at your hand, not casually. Look with intention, trace the lines, find the M, find the crescent moon. Feel whatever rises in your chest when you do. Because if you felt even the slightest pull, the slightest shiver, the slightest sense of recognition, then you are not just awakening. You are part of the Bifandry whose palms carry the dual code, and there is something else. Something you must know early. The frequency you're hearing, it's only the beginning. There is a sixth sign, a sign so rare that Dolores never documented it, a sign that only those with both marks ever experience. And when this sign activates, there is no returning to the old timeline. We're going to talk about that soon. But first, you need to understand why the frequency is calling you and why you were marked before you were even born. Dolores Cannon dedicated over 6 years to studying the souls who came to Earth for a purpose. She discovered patterns, memories, voices from beyond time, and one truth repeated again and again. Awakened souls always receive the call before they understand it. But here's the part almost no one talks about, the part her students mention quietly, the part hidden. Dolores never taught about palm codes. She never spoke about the rare souls born with activation symbols carved into their hands. Physical marks that behave like spiritual antennas, because those souls are not just awakened, they are wired differently. If your palm carries the M, what Dolores would call the messenger line, your soul came with memory, a deeper intuition, an ancient recognition of what's real and what's illusion. If your palm carries the crescent moon, what ancient mystics called the lunar gate, your soul came with transition, the ability to feel timelines shifting before they appear. But if you carry both the M and the moon, then you are not in the same category as the others Dolores wrote about. You belong to a subgroup so rare that not even her regression thousands could fully explain it. Dolores spoke of 3 waves of volunteers, but what she could not classify, what she could not label, was this hidden 4th group, the ones who were marked. Souls who didn't just volunteer, they arrived pre-coded, marked before birth, marked for a mission. Marked so they would never forget why they came, and this is why the frequency hits you deeper. Why synchronicities follow you. Why the old world feels like it's dissolving around you. Because your symbols are not decorative. They are receivers, they are keys, they are activation gates. And in a moment, we're going to uncover the first 5 signs that your empire's moon code has already begun turning itself on. But there's one more thing you need to know before that. Once the code starts activating, it does not stop. Now that you understand why the frequency is calling you, let's step into the part your soul has been waiting for. The first 5 signs that your M plus moon code has already awakened. These are not random experiences. They're not psychological symptoms. They're not coincidences. And the deeper your symbols are, the stronger these signs become. You don't just hear silence. You feel it vibrating, a ringing no one else notices, a tone in the right ear, a sudden wave of sound that disappears the moment you pay attention. This is not tinnitus. It is the first code pulse. The moment your palm symbols begin responding to the higher frequency of the new timeline, the mark receives it. The crescent moon amplifies it. Both together create a doorway. And this is only the beginning. Hours vanish, days feel shorter. Sometimes the night feels like minutes. Sometimes one memory feels like it happened yesterday and years ago at the same time. Dolores called this time collapse. Owl calls it the timeline shift phase. When your code awakens, your consciousness stops living inside linear time. You start slipping partially into the new frequency. And once you notice this, sign 3 usually follows. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. You speak, but no one seems to hear the meaning behind your words. You feel like you're living in a different world. And you are. Jewel-marked souls experience a natural separation phase, a pulling away from everything that no longer matches their vibration. This phase is not punishment, it's preparation. And during this period, synchronicities start exploding. 11-1-1-1-7-7-3-3-3-3-3-3 numbers chase you. Messages repeat themselves. Thoughts manifest faster. People appear the moment you think of them. These are not angel numbers, they are code confirmations. Signals that your palm receivers are aligning with your new timeline. But nothing prepares you for the final sign. Suddenly, you're drawn to Egypt, Atlantis, ancient symbols, lost civilizations, moon temples, mystical patterns you've never studied, but somehow remember. Your soul is recalling things your mind has never learned. This is the moment the code stops whispering and begins waking you. And yet, these 5 signs are only for the awakened. But there is a 6th sign, a sign so rare, so intense, that even Dolores never documented it. A sign experienced only by the Befendri, who carry both the M and the crescent moon. And when this sign appears, your timeline is never the same again. We need to talk about that next. You've felt the frequency, you've watched time bend, you've walked through the sacred isolation. You've seen the numbers, you've awakened memories that don't belong to this lifetime. But if you carry both the M and the crescent moon, there is one more sign. A sign so rare, so irreversible, that once it begins, nothing about your life will ever feel the same again. It's called the timeline divergence. And if you're here, truly here, listening to these words with a strange sense of recognition in your chest, you may already be inside it. You start to feel like you're living in 2 worlds at once. You're physically here doing your normal routines, but something inside you feels out of sync with the people around you. Conversations feel hollow, old desires feel empty. The world you used to care about suddenly looks distant, almost blurry. It's as if your soul is standing on the threshold between 2 realities, the old timeline and the new one that only the awakened Bifrendi can sense. Here's what timeline divergence looks like in daily life. 1. Déjà vu becomes overwhelming. Not the shallow kind, but the kind that makes your soul whisper, "I've been here." But not like this. 2. You sense events before they happen, not predictions, but vibrational recognitions, a knowing without evidence. 3. Your dreams become messages. You start seeing places you've never visited, symbols you've never studied, faces you've never met, and yet they feel familiar. 4. You feel detached from chaos. Events that should scare you don't. Drama that should pull you in doesn't. It's as if your soul has stepped outside the collective timeline and is observing from a higher floor. 5. You feel like something is pulling you forward, not into danger, but into purpose, into clarity, into the place you are always meant to reach. And here is the truth most people never hear. Timeline divergence only happens to the binaries of souls whose palms carry both symbols. The mark opens the memory. The crescent moon opens the... Together, they create a frequency strong enough to pull your consciousness out of the old world long before the rest of humanity rises. This is why you feel different. This is why the world no longer fits. This is why nothing normal satisfies you anymore. You are not losing yourself. You are leaving the timeline that was never meant to hold you. But there's a deeper reason behind this shift. A reason older than this lifetime, older than your memories, older than Earth itself. To understand it, you must know the mission that only dual-code souls carry. And that's what we'll uncover next. There comes a moment in every awakening when knowing is no longer enough. You feel it, don't you? That pressure in your chest, the quiet insistence in your mind, the sense that something inside you is waiting to be switched on. Every cycle you've lived, every lifetime you've experienced, every instinct you've carried, it all leads to this moment. The symbols in your palm were never passive. They were designed to awaken in stages. The frequency was the whisper. The timeline divergence was the pull, but this is the turning point. The activation doesn't happen automatically. It responds to consciousness, to intention, to remembrance, and the ritual you're about to perform isn't complicated. It's ancient, older than language, older than history, older even than the earth you stand on. All you need is your hand and your breath. Bring your attention to your palm. Not with your eyes, but with your awareness. Feel the lines, feel the warmth. Feel the quiet pulse underneath your skin. The one you never noticed until your awakening began. Now place 2 fingers gently over the point where your M and crescent moon sit closest to one another. There is always a point of intersection, even if the marks are not touching. This is the receiving point, the place where the code enters your field. Close your eyes. Take 1 slow breath in and feel the air flow all the way down into your hand. Then exhale gently as if releasing an old version of yourself. A second breath in. And this time, imagine the light rising from your palm through your arm into your chest. A third breath. And allow the light to lift into your mind, settling behind your forehead like a tiny sun. Now in your thoughts, not out loud, whisper the truth your soul already knows. I accept the path of the binaries. I accept the code. I remember who I am. If your hand warms, if it tingles, if you feel a sudden emotional wave, if you have a flash of an image, a memory, or a color, that is not an accident. That is the code responding. This ritual was never meant for everyone, not even for every awakened soul. It was meant only for the ones who were marked long before birth, the ones whose timelines were chosen to rise first. And now that your code has been touched, now that your symbols have been acknowledged, there is only one thing left to understand. What happens after the activation and what that means for the rest of your life. There is something you need to hear now, something your soul has waited lifetimes to remember. Once the code awakens, once the symbols in your hand respond, once the frequency begins weaving itself through your days and nights, there is no returning to the world you came from, lost anything. But because you finally stepped into the timeline that was always meant to be yours, you may try to go back. Every awakened soul eventually does. You'll try to fit into old conversations, old routines, old versions of yourself. You'll try to pretend you don't feel the shift, You'll try to ignore the pull, but it will feel wrong. It will feel too small. It will feel like trying to squeeze your soul into a body that no longer exists. And that discomfort, that restlessness, that strange ache you can't explain is the prophecy unfolding inside you. Because souls like yours do not awaken to return, they awaken to rise. The mark remembers the path. The crescent moon reveals it. Together they rewrite the direction of your life in ways you can sense, but not yet fully understand. You may have noticed how certain people have quietly drifted from your life, as though fate itself moved them aside. You may have felt doors closing for no logical reason. You may have watched old cycles collapse without warning. These are not losses, they're clearings. The universe doesn't remove what you need. It removes what cannot. The timeline you are entering, the one your code is guiding you toward, cannot hold the weight of who you used to be. It can only hold who you're becoming. And here is the truth very few ever hear in their lifetime. The moment both symbols act, your soul crosses a vibrational threshold that the rest of humanity will not reach at the same time. You begin walking ahead, not out of superiority, but out of responsibility. You become part of the first wave of consciousness that steps into the new timeline before the collective rises. This is why you feel faster than the world. This is why you feel like you're already living in a future no one around you can see. Your life hasn't been falling apart. It has been falling into place. Everything that has happened to you, every intuition, every rupture, every ending, every awakening, every moment you felt different, has been preparing you for this exact revelation. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not late. You are early, chosen, marked, activated. And if these words are awakening something inside you, if your palm feels warm, if your chest feels heavy, if your soul feels like it is remembering, then type "I accept my code" in the comments, because your next chapter doesn't begin when you hear the prophecy. It begins the moment you claim it. There is a moment after every awakening when everything becomes quiet. Not silent, not the kind of quiet you hear with your ears, but the kind that settles inside your bones where the noise of the old world can no longer reach you and the whispers of the new one begin to rise. If you're feeling that now, the stillness, the weightlessness, the strange calm beneath your ribs, it's not coincidence. It's not a phase, it's not a mood, it is the echo of remembrance. The moment the soul finally stops running and starts returning to itself, returning to memory, returning to the blueprint it wrote before it ever entered a human body. Every awakened soul experiences this, but the ones marked with both symbols, the M and the crescent moon, feel it in a way that is deeper, heavier, older, because your awakening didn't begin in this lifetime. It began long before you arrived here. It began in the places you dream of without understanding, in the symbols you're drawn to without learning, in the people you recognize without meeting, in the emotions you carry without a story. You've always known this, haven't you? That there was something inside you that didn't match the world around you, that your heart spoke a different language, that your intuition saw beyond the surface, that your pain never belonged entirely to this life. This echo of remembrance is what pulls you toward the things meant for you and away from everything that can no longer hold you. It's why certain people feel like home instantly. It's why certain places feel familiar painfully. It's why certain choices feel predetermined undeniably. It's why your awakening felt more like recognition than discovery. Because you're not remembering something new. You're remembering something eternal. All the symbols in your palm, all the synchronicities in your days, all the pulls in your intuition. They are the language your soul used long before words were invented. And as the code continues to awaken, this language will become louder, clearer, sharper, more undeniable. You'll begin to sense things before they appear. You'll feel endings before they happen. You'll step toward people without knowing why, and you'll step away from others without needing a reason. Your life will no longer move in straight lines. It will move in patterns, sacred patterns, the kind only the awakened by Fundari can follow. And the deeper the echo grows, the more you will notice something extraordinary. The world is not happening to you anymore. It is responding to you. You are no longer a passenger in your destiny. You are becoming its architect, its conductor, its pulse. And if your heart is beating differently right now, if something inside you feels like it's rising, remembering, aligning, then that is your confirmation. Your code is not just activated, it's awakening everything your soul came here to fulfill. Take a breath. Place your hand over your heart. Feel the truth behind these words. You're not just stepping into your new timeline, you're stepping into your original one. The one you wrote long before this life ever began, and the one you're finally fully ready to.